Okay, so this morning on my walk to work, I had a thought, and I was going to take that thought and I was going to talk about that thought on camera, okay? However, here is what I have learned about myself in this respect. My brain is such a rabbit hole, okay? I am talking, when people use the phrase going down the rabbit hole, yeah, that is literally my brain. So, and it's an interesting thing. I mean, I've always known my brain goes down a rabbit hole. I've always been very self-aware that my brain will start with something and it'll lead to something else, and then it will go all over the place. It makes conversations with me very entertaining, especially if you ask any of the people that I talk to on a regular basis. It's just what I do, going down rabbit hole. So, here's the thing about going down rabbit holes, though. Because of how my brain thinks and how my brain processes things and how I tend to look at all subject matters in a different way, and I tend to research, or I have conversations with people, or I dig deep a little bit in rabbit hole way. It tends to get interesting, and unfortunately, in order for me to make a point and then put my evidence to that point by taking stuff and basically saying about stuff I've read, or things that don't seem like they're connected at the time, and then I'm trying to explain how they're connected, it tends to go like not a linear conversation type deal. And because I'm trying to make a point and to let people see my thought process and where it goes, I tend to be very blunt. I tend to not really care if I'm using or saying something that may come off how people would take political, or take it as an offense, because we're a generation that gets offended now, or stuff like that, or people will simply take it the wrong way than what it actually is meant to, and they take stuff and they'll take bits and pieces of it. They won't even go into the entire context, and they'll twist it. So yeah, so when it comes to my brain and me trying to make a point, as I originally said, because I go different paths, and I'm not afraid to say examples and stuff that may seem that people may take their own way. I have to be slightly careful, because even though I don't use social media as a tool to go on and call people out, or to make little snide jibes at them, or things like that, people will take anything that, even if you're saying in general, or that you're trying to say to make a point, personally. But my theory on that is this: if you're taking something that I'm saying, and I'm not pointedly saying your name or pointedly saying anything towards you, and you're coming on my social media and you're seeing this stuff and you take it to heart, then here's the thing: then you need to question your own actions and why you would think that something that is being said in general you're taking so personally. And yeah, I know a lot of people are going to come at me for that, but I said what I said and I mean what I say. I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff. I'm not Willy Wonka. I don't own a candy store or a candy shop. So yeah, anything that I say in my videos, anything I say in general that is my opinion or anything like that is not a stab at anybody else. Because here's the thing. I grew up in a generation that used to believe if you have beef or you have issues, you don't go crying on social media to get attention and bringing it out into the public so that you can have a little following. If we did that, we would just have public fights. But basically, if you have a problem with somebody and you're hiding behind social media and you're doing all these little snide things so that you can later sit there and say, oh, well, that's not what I mean, or I didn't say that, or you can delete it and think that it makes it okay, then honestly, that's all you're doing is using shields and you ain't much of a person. I grew up in a generation that if we had beef with someone, you came and you either talked to us in private or you confronted us and we would fight it out physically. Although I wasn't really quite the physical person. But you either came and you confronted the person. Because if you have a problem with someone and you're just doing it where everybody can see you, or you can have a mass following or a mass whatever, that's not being a big person, that's being a coward, first of all. And that means that you are just bringing it out to get attention. So personally, anybody who tries to come at me on social media or anything like that, I ignore it. And I ignore it because it's petty, it's childish, and if you need to do that on that type of basis, then you're basically just doing it for attention. You're not looking for a resolution. You're not looking to settle things like an adult. So, there you go.